is like we both enjoy devices, don't we? We're like, I've got a new iMac I was asking you about, and we like all of the gizmos and gadgets and everything. But I find detaching myself from devices is a really important thing. Like,
yeah, one of the most powerful.
I find them so good for being a productive tool. I don't sit day in out just on Facebook. And I've got some good, we've again spoken about before, habits of not being on social media before and after a certain time, unless it's a direct post that you're just hitting from a work target point of view. But I don't think the device world that we live in, from this handheld thing to the computer to the laptop. I would say TV I would put into a different category of this, but I don't think the device is necessarily a healthy thing at times.
No, I think it's one of the most unhealthy things. I think it's the problem for this generation of people is learning how to manage this power that we have now, because we're at that stage now where you've just got a second brain in your pocket. And it can access any information you want. You can store any information you want, and you can kind of regurgitate or grab something, photo, video, document at any time. And it's only progressing more because the devices are getting smaller and more compact, and the batteries are lasting longer, and the screens are getting better, and it's just becoming more and more easy to engage with them almost permanently. And then we lose all of our, we spoke about this before, where we've had phones for 20 years, mobile phones, and how much time we've had before that without it. So we are not programmed or set up to have these things. Yeah, we're not evolved to have these things. So it's become so integral to us. And then all the stuff that we meant to have and do all the time is kind of falling to the side and not happening as much. I read a great book by some guys who used to work for Google as developers, and they talk about how these apps and these devices are literally designed to make sure you use them all the time, because everything is geared around advertising and making sure that you're seeing the products that they want to sell you or the services they want to sell you. So it's all about permanent engagement. So it's a bit of a losing battle, because these things are designed to hold you and keep you, and you have to really be aware of that, because you'll go down a rabbit hole.
Yeah, and you can see that with the younger generation. You see that with one's own children, how, like you say, it's designed to keep you. Like YouTube, for instance, I think was possibly one of the first ones. You didn't just watch a video; you had immediately on your right-hand side a list of videos associated to that video, and as soon as your video finishes, now another one is coming up with an advert in between. It's like, it is a never-ending engagement. Like, don't get me wrong, I like devices, and probably whenever anyone sees me, you see me with a device. I would say probably the most useful tool or app of the device I find is taking notes. I think that's fantastic. And like, for instance, submarines, they used to have to carry all the manuals, all the fixing manuals for submarine, and it used to take up X tons or whatever it was of just manuals. You're in the bottom of the ocean and something goes wrong with the nuclear reactor, you want to be able to find out what it is.
You need a book.
And they said as soon as they could put all of those tens of thousands of manuals into a computer, it changed the game. And that for me, I find very useful. Don't get me wrong, I like the social media. I think the way that you can engage, especially with friends that are around the world, like I can speak to my Italian friend or see exactly what they're doing, I think is great. And I think the access to information, like for instance, the dictionary reference at the start, I was on a device for that, and the ability just to pull up music. I love music, so and I think the devices are really good. But probably what people don't see with myself is I make sure when we go out, and I don't really need the phone. Like we went to a friend's at the weekend for a barbecue. I don't need my phone there. I don't take it. I turn it off and I leave it. And I find that's very very important habits to have. Like, you enjoy devices, don't you?
I love them. I use them constantly. And exactly like you said, that for certain things, there's nothing better. Like, we enjoy movies and TVs, and gone are the days now where you have a bookcase of VHSs or DVDs. It's now just all streamed. I love music, but I no longer have a CD collection or a vinyl collection. It's just all streamed online. And I love notes. If I had all my notes that are on a computer in physical form, it would take up a ridiculous amount of space. It would just be crazy. And even now down to reading, I tend to now listen to more audiobooks and read on a device than a physical paper book. Yeah. So in terms of just storage, and like you said, the ease of access, that anywhere, anytime you can show someone your favorite album, or a picture of your kids or whatever it is.
Photos, that's another thing,
Photos is another one. Huge. In that sense, they're great. I think what you said is it's about how you use it. It's making sure that it's a tool for you to use and not something that you get used by, because that's where the trap that I see people fall into, where you're just a consumer of it. And it just uses you to, basically get your data and then to sell things to you and push things onto you constantly. And I think taking conscious breaks from it is useful. Finding times of the day and times of the week to just put it away.
That reminds me actually something my dad said years ago. This is like before devices were around, before a mobile, long before a tablet or anything like that. Even maybe predates like the advancement of the computers and things like that. And he was telling me about ownership of, like for instance, a car. How we all own, or not everyone, but the majority of families own a car. But some people, their car, just an example, owns them. And it's like they're so at point of keeping it clean and to a obsessive point, and won't go out in it won't use it because they're afraid of wearing the tires out, and all of those kind of. Then it kind of you're not using it for the tool that it is. It becomes owning you. I suppose that's kind of what we're saying with the devices, isn't it? There comes a point where the device has its usability, its functionality, and then there becomes a point where it starts it's almost like Terminator style, isn't it?
Yeah, but you see people try it, like they find ways of using a device that you don't need a device for. And that's where I think it gets you a little bit. And like I would say conversation is one of those things where there is nothing better than having a face-to-face conversation with a real person. But a lot of, especially the kids now, they only communicate via messaging and via, let's say, GIFs and memes and all of these things that they use. And they've now lost the ability, like they physically can't stand in front of another human, look them in the eye and have a conversation anymore. They've lost that human ability, and now they are completely reliant on their technology for expressing the kind of person they are. And I've seen it a lot where the way they communicate on the phone is very different to the way they communicate with you person to person. So their actual character is tied up in this persona that's on the device. So without the device, they don't know who they are.
That's not just keyboard warriors, isn't it?
Keyboard warriors, yeah. People who there's this thing of them online, and it's a completely different person to the person you know them as. And then you kind of have to then question, well, which one is it? Like, because sometimes I think maybe that is the real you, but you don't know how to put that into the real world because you're just constantly doing it online. So now this is just a hollow shell of a person, and everything that's actually you is digital.
And that's without even looking at the misconception as well. Like a message, even with emojis and everything else, is very hard to draw emotion from. Or it's very subjective, isn't it? To draw emotion.
You can read it different ways.
Yeah, and that's without even taking that into account, isn't it?
Yeah, and